presentation, right?
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, I'm Matt Takaki. I refer to him as Taka. Our topic today is examining diversity and criticality in English language teaching through reflective practice, language teacher beliefs, attitudes, and experiences. And of course, I have to say thank you to New York State TESOL for inviting us to give this kind of webinar. We're looking forward to it. So let's get started. Okay. First, today's outline, we'll do a few different things here. First, Taka and I will introduce TEIE, which is Teaching English in English, and English Education in Japan. And then we'll talk about methodologies of reflective practice and dual ethnography. And then we'll kind of summarize a study, a dual ethnographic study that we did last fall. And then we want you to have something to take away from this. So we'll have a little discussion about reflective practice and dual ethnography at the end. Sound good? Okay. All right. So I got my notes here. What is teaching English in English? Well, it's what it sounds like, right? But it may be obvious in an ESL scenario to teach English in English, but in an EFL scenario like Japan, our students all share their L1, their first language, Japanese. So teachers have to make a choice to teach English using only English or to use Japanese also in the classroom. So this will be one of our main topics today, teaching English in English. Taka, would you like to talk about English teaching in Japan?
Yeah, I guess it is sort of self-explanatory in the sense that all of you attending today's presentation probably have familiarization with the Japanese context as well as the English education in Japan. But less than 2% of the population in Japan are non-Japanese. Less than 0.3% of those are actually English language speakers. So 99.7% of the population in Japan do not use English on a daily basis. I do not know the most updated number now in Japan, but as you can easily imagine that those numbers are even much lower in the face of the corona pandemic. It goes without saying, therefore, Japan is English as a foreign language context. As Matt said, EFL context. There are very few opportunities or even necessity to use English. Against this background, the Japanese government has implemented a teaching English in English policy just last year officially to secondary schools. Some of the problems concerning this policy are, I guess, lack of students' motivation, teachers' language skills, and appropriate textbooks or evaluation methods. But maybe Matt can talk about it a little bit more in detail. Matt? Oh, no, actually, this is what I wanted to talk about, right? Sorry. 4 main problems with implementing teaching English in English were, again, reiterate the lack of students' abilities, teachers' language skills, and appropriate textbooks or evaluation methods. Sorry, I thought you'd be pointing out these problems with TEIE, but that was my part. I'm sorry, Matt. Okay.
That's okay. I was messing with my with the slides anyway, so sorry.
Okay, let's move to the next one.
Yeah, this one's yours as well.
Yeah, so now moving on to the theoretical framework of our study on which this presentation is based. One of the theoretical framework we employed in the study is reflective practice. I would assume that many of you have heard of this term, reflective practice. But why is it valuable for language teachers to conduct reflective practice? reflective practice is important because we can free ourselves as a teacher from routinized thinking and doing in the classroom. We do not want to be stifled or stagnant as a practitioner because it's boring and students will be maybe losing their attention or level of engagement. As professionals, we want to always strive for improving our teaching and developing as practitioners. What is reflective practice and how can we do it then? There are 3 different phases of reflection, namely reflection for action, reflection in action, and reflection on action. In other words, teachers can take reflective practice or action before, during, and after their teaching practices. They might be able to engage in rigorous reflective inquiry through using the following data collection methods. There are how many? 8 or 9. So lesson planning documents, interview transcripts, classroom observation, private speech recordings, stimulated recall, post discussions, focus groups, and lesson transcripts. If you want to get into the nitty-gritty of what each or any of the data collection method entails, please let me know during the Q&A session afterwards. With that being said, the biggest obstacle for teachers, language teachers, or teachers in general in relation to reflective practice, as everybody might be aware, is time. How in the world would we be able to find time for reflective practice on top of what we are already doing, right? I hear you. I used to be a high school teacher of English in public schools over the course of 10 years in Japan. And I was extremely busy. We didn't have any time for reflecting on our teaching practice in the classroom, let alone planning the actual teaching even. We need to make our reflective practice, therefore, easy and accessible and feasible to everyone, irrespective of our workloads or previous experiences with reflective practice. Done properly, though, reflective practice enables us to empower practitioners, improve our teaching skills, facilitate students' learning, and in fact, save time in the long run. The reason of being able to save time by conducting reflective practice is due to a better understanding of our contextualized teaching and learning, right? And the second reason of being able to save time is the preparation that we can make through reflective practice intentionally or unintentionally as a result of engaging in reflective practice. If the aforementioned methods, as you can see at the bottom of this slide, are too time-consuming or elusive to you, just jotting down a couple of sentences here and there in the form of journaling, maybe after the lessons, or administering simple student surveys with just a couple of personal questions would do as the operationalization of reflective practice. They become a catalyst for reflective practice and consequently, even for practitioner research in which teachers become both teachers and researchers at the same time in their own right within their classrooms. It is now time for me to tell you that dual ethnography, another theoretical framework, is an easy, fun, and enriching collaborative methodology for cultivating and actualizing reflective practice. So there's this deep connection between reflective practice and dual ethnography, not only as a teacher, but also as a researcher. At least it was the case with me and Matt. Would you like to take it away from here, Matt, about ethnography?
Sure, sure. That was very thorough, Takaki. Thank you. Yeah, let me just briefly mention duoethnography as a research methodology. So basically, this is, I'll just read it here. Duoethnography is a qualitative research methodology in which two or more researchers of difference juxtapose their life histories to provide multiple understandings of the world. And what's key here is two or more researchers of difference. So in our cases, Takaki is a native Japanese speaker, and English is his second language. I'm a native speaker of English. Japanese is one of my second languages. So that's our difference. And we're juxtaposing our life histories, our experiences with teaching English in English in this project. Okay. Then the role of dialogue. So dialogue is the core of the data collection, the conversation between Takaki and I about various topics. And duoethnography is developed from autoethnography, of course, which is just one person reflecting on their own experiences. The researcher is the researcher and the researchee, I guess. And narrative inquiry is key as well. Storytelling, sharing our lived experiences as teachers. And it takes advantage of dialogic format. Dialogue, okay, is key there. Data collection methods. Of course, dialogue is the main one, but it can also include textual artifacts, photos, documents, and these are used to generate dialogue. Okay. So we'll get into our research study later, but we did use one writing reflection textual artifact. Okay, duoethnography. Taka, is that okay? Do you have anything to add?
Okay. No.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So our study, Taka and I were talking about our experiences teaching English in Japan. And these are our three research questions that we came up with. So number one, what are our beliefs and experiences with TEIE, teaching English in English? And how do those inform and shape our classroom practices? Number two, students, are they ready for TEIE, teaching English in English? What are their attitudes towards an all English classroom? And can language teachers affect students' attitudes? And number three, how do we perceive teachers and students' linguistic abilities in relation to the teacher's pedagogic ability to implement TEIE effectively? And these three research questions grew out of our dialogue. I'm sorry, I'm a little hoarse tonight. I have a little cough, so. Okay, let's keep going. Taka?
Much related to the three research questions, the goals of the study were three. First goal was that we wanted to share and discuss our opinions about teaching English in English and effective teaching more generally, whilst employing reflective practice and duoethnography. Second goal of the study was we were attempted to be critical of ourselves, challenging our preconceived notions and meta-narratives in the society. Third, we are open to learning about our language teacher identities, broadening our professional knowledge and improving our teaching through this study. So moving on to our biography.
Okay. Not yet. So data collection in our study, we had 5 discussions, roughly 100 minutes each over Zoom, and these were recorded. And then we did one reflective writing, which we shared with our partner, our backgrounds, our language learning experience as students, motivations for becoming a teacher, and rationales for adopting TEIE. And procedures are very simple. So discussion number 1, Taka and I, we just got together and decided we were going to share our experiences with teaching English in English and kind of juxtapose our approaches and our experiences in the classroom. After discussion one, we made a transcript of the discussion, and then we kind of picked out the emergent themes. And at that point, we also decided that it would be helpful if we had a more detailed history of our partner. So we did our reflective writing about ourselves and shared that with the partner, and then we reviewed that. And then the next 4 discussions grew kind of organically out of the themes that emerged from discussion number 1 and the writing. And we explored our beliefs, our experiences, backgrounds, attitudes, linguistic abilities of teachers and students. So 5 discussions and 1 writing prompt. Okay. After that first discussion, we decided that our identities and our backgrounds were going to be very important in this study. So we kind of shared our personal backgrounds. If I can introduce myself a little more, I guess. I've been in Japan for 10 years, and I'm from Northern Nevada. So I came to Japan in 2011, and I was a high school assistant language teacher. I did that for 5 years. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So I taught high school for 5 years, and then in 2016, I got the job where I'm at now at Miyagi University, and I've been here for 5 or 6 years. As a high school assistant language teacher, that's where I started implementing my approach to teaching English in English. I still kind of apply that today. Taka, go ahead.
Yeah, I grew up in northern Japan, where I had little exposure to foreign cultures or languages. As a student in secondary school, I attended English classes as part of their required curriculum. In those days, though, Japanese teachers of English felt pressure to teach to the test, especially university entrance exams, and therefore class content focused on the raw learning of English for tests rather than on communicative aspects. I did fairly well in English classes, but I couldn't really speak English at all. But upon graduating from university, to my surprise and anybody's surprise, that I became a high school Japanese teacher of English. And over the course of 10 years, I worked within that capacity. And here I am. And then I became interested in the academic side of the language teacher education and went to New Zealand for the pursuit of getting a PhD. And then after getting a PhD, I have been working as a university professor within the Japanese context for more than 10 years. And here I am. I love our fate and the dramatic turn of events in our lives like this. Yeah, so these biographies we just described are extremely intertwined with the procedure and the outcomes of this study, that is dual ethnography, which is full of our experiential stories recounted to this one. All right, would you like to proceed to our research findings, Matt? This is really good to have a virtual conference like this, because in this day and time, I do not want to be in the same room with somebody like you, Matt, coughing constantly. But no, I'm joking. Please go ahead and find our findings.
I'm really sorry. I'm struggling right now. So we picked out the most salient themes in our conversations, and these became our research questions. So dialogue 1 was about teachers' beliefs and experiences about TEIE. So I'll give just a summary of the key points in dialogue. So yeah, so this is really bad. I'm sorry. So I'm sorry. Taka, I got to get some water.
Okay.
Can you
Okay.
talk
Yeah,
about
I'm going to
your
go ahead with the dialogue 1 and then dialogue 2. You can come back later.
I'll be
So
right back.
the first theme of the DOS overview was teachers' beliefs and experiences about teaching English in English. This is clearly related to research question 1. The summaries of our dialogue was my rationale for implementing TEIE in EFL contexts were delineated, and Matt's story about first 2 years teaching in Japan were summarized. And commentaries to those summaries were, the reason why I am using teaching English in Japan is the maximization, my desire to maximize exposure to English on the part of my students. Matt's approach to teaching English in English was less rigid compared to mine, but allows him other affordances, such as the use of students' Japanese linguistic characteristics. So this is the quote from Fairbanks and Human in 2018. Teachers may have a clear vision for their teaching, but they also teach in social, political, and institutional contexts, offering both affordances and constraints in language education practices. Their personal experiences are significant influence on teachers' language education identities. So the contextual factors on the micro level, method level, and then macro level will be having an effect on the identities of teachers themselves as well as their practices. Okay, the next dialogue is related to the students' readiness and the attitude towards teaching English in English. So I, Taka, realized that my English studies in Japanese public secondary schools or Japanese national university for that matter had not prepared me to be able to use the language in practice. Therefore, I wanted to be the opposite kind of teacher that I had. I didn't want to be the English teacher I was taught English from. And this is a phenomenon called anti-apprenticeship of observation. Matt's development about his ideas regarding learning Spanish and his experience coming to Japan to teach illustrates a stark contrast between cultures of learning and how foreign language programs are approached within broader educational systems. Again, our personal experience was an important and significant factor for shaping how we are teaching English in English. And these episodes in the dialogue suggest that there is a place for intensive sheltered learning, especially speaking training, to help students develop speaking skills before they actually have to use the second language in their real life scenario. That said, our conversation pointed to the idea also that students in Japan can be ready for communicative pedagogies after probably just 2 or 3 years of basic language study and language exposure. Students can be quote unquote ready for more intense English language environments if thought is given to students' linguistic level when teachers are preparing for and carrying out their classes. Students' attitudes can also be directly affected by teachers. When I, Taka, lay out my ground rules for classroom activity on the first day of class, so the ground rules, some of them being, we only use English in the classroom as soon as we enter the classroom. And throughout, or nobody in the classroom, including myself as an instructor, will not correct or judge anybody's English in their lessons. These are the ground rules in my courses at the university. when that happens, students become aware that the learning environment will be different from what they have been used to previously in their secondary school English education. It is hoped that this knowledge helps them to adjust and be able to actively participate in the following classes. Matt's decision, on the other hand, to use Japanese in front of students implicitly signals to the students that it's okay to speak a foreign language and make mistakes. And he's sort of becoming the role model for using second language as a second language learner and user of Japanese. So that's the dialogue 2. Do you want to take it away for dialogue 3, Matt?
Sure, I'll try. So dialogue 3 centered on teachers and students' linguistic abilities. There's our research question 3. I'll let you read that. Okay. So the dialogue summary, basically Taka related that he thinks that his approach to teaching English in Japan is really rare, and that most teachers probably use a lot of Japanese in their classrooms. The other thing that was striking was his honesty with students. When students would ask him, why do I need to learn English? He was very honest. He says, the truth is you don't. But you don't ask your PE teacher why you have to learn basketball, right? Like you should just try it and enjoy it. Am I getting that right, Taka?
Okay? Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a little thing about where I talked about how seriously English was really being taken in education in Japan, and I used the examples of Tunisia and Finland, who have successful second language programs, and kind of juxtaposed Japan with those countries. And you know, it kind of appeared that you know, Japanese really isn't necessary for most people in Japan. They can have a nice life and be rich and famous and not speak a word of English in Japan. Let's see, commentary. Taka argues that when teachers have higher language skills, okay. So teachers' language skills are important. If the teacher, non-native speakers of English, teachers, they need to have a higher level of English language skills for better learning outcomes, right? And then the challenge for me, on the other hand, is sometimes it's hard for me to guess how much the students know or understand. And that's something that just kind of comes with experience, becoming aware of students' language levels. Okay, shall we move on?
Yep.
Okay. Conclusion. So dialogue 1, basically Taka's approach to teaching English in English is very rigid. So he's trying to maximize the English exposure of students, or their exposure to English in the classroom. And mine is less rigid. I don't know if you talked about this when I was gone, but I do use some Japanese with students in class. My policy basically is when I'm standing in front of the classroom teaching, I use English, but as I monitor classroom activity, one-to-one, I will use a little Japanese with students. I do this for a couple reasons. Number one is it allows me to build rapport with students, build a relationship, and they can see me as a language learner myself. And they can see that I'm using a little Japanese, I'm making mistakes, and it's not perfect, but I don't care. You know what I mean? So it kind of empowers the students and kind of lowers that affective filter a little bit. Okay. Dialogue 2, teachers can impact students' readiness. Okay, with Taka and his rules for students. just use English and don't judge each other. Was very nice. And the educational environment can also impact on student readiness and attitudes. And dialogue 3, last one. So again, for non-native speakers of English, increasing their linguistic proficiency in English is very important, and cultivating positive attitudes in the classroom. For the native speaker, for myself, through experience, just becoming aware of how much the students understand and adjusting my lessons appropriately was what came out of dialogue 3. Okay, Taka.
Yeah, just as a conclusion, reflective practice and DO ethnography that can be used to analyze and discuss beliefs, attitudes, and experiences and identities and emotions in the classroom as well. Through them, teachers can view themselves through a unique window for observing and analyzing one's identity and practice with the goal of improving teaching skills. Okay, yeah, that's the conclusion from us, and thank you for indulging us. This was our first collaborative presentation, me and Matt, and we will take your questions and comments. Please fire away. Thank you very much. All right. Do you want to maybe turn on your mic, or you can also put your questions in the chat if that's more comfortable for you?
Yeah, sorry about all the coughing. When I was sharing the slides, there's no mute button on my screen. I'm really sorry.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Should I just jump in?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Hi, I'm Sue. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. I'm curious because since the Ministry of Education in Japan has made English language study mandatory, as I understand it, what are teachers' attitudes about having to do reflective practice and all of this, if, what you were saying in your presentation is that, well, there's really no, I guess my question is, why has English been made mandatory if you really don't need it in Japan? So I'm just wondering what's going on there.
Okay, as a Japanese citizen and a former English teacher myself in Japan, I'm gonna take that question. It is a good question. Why did we make English subject as a mandatory entity in Japan? Well, there was a movement after World War II. The government officials wanted to make English as the official language. I think there was this ingrained history between Japan, bilateral Japan and the United States relationship, and probably coming from this complex towards English and people from the United States. We admire and fall into the trap of thinking about the native speakerism as the ideology. So we wanted to catch up economically and politically regarding the global scene, especially in an attempt to be assimilated into the culture and then language of the United States. That is a big elephant in the room. So without considering the local language or the awareness or the input from the teachers or the community members, or without taking into consideration other languages, including Korean or Russian or Portuguese, which are sometimes more practical or useful in the scene of Japan. So that huge multi-layered social, cultural, political, geographical issues were the outcome of English becoming the compulsory subject in Japan. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Okay, Cynthia asked in the chat here, what do the students think or say about TEIE? Are math students more receptive or motivated? I have students who are very receptive and motivated, and I have students who are not receptive and motivated. So a broad range, I guess. I teach, so my university, we have 3 different departments, and none of them are English majors. So there's a nursing department, there's a business and project design, and then there's a food and agricultural sciences. And the business is very good. The business students are very good at English. The nurses, English is not really important for them, but they're very studious, I guess. So if I give an assignment, they do it. And then my food and industrial students, I struggle with. They're very scientifically minded, but they're not really focused on English. So yeah, how about you, Taka? How are your students?
Yeah, it is. I think it has a lot to do with the previous experiences those students had. But I would say, and I hope that my students are relatively receptive. Yeah. Do you want to take the next question regarding the students' English proficiency? Okay, let me take this question if it's okay, Matt.
Sure.
So data points are used to measure students' English proficiencies in Japan. There are mainly 2, one of which is this English proficiency test called TOEIC, ranging from 0 point to 990. And it is stated that the proficiency level of students which are suitable for implementing teaching English in English is usually above TOEIC score of 780. And when it comes to implementing teaching English in English policy on the part of students for non-native speakers of English teachers, just like myself, the TOEIC score should be more than 900. And another criteria of English proficiency used in Japan prevalently is CEFA, European English Framework. And it is maybe B1 or B2 are their students' English proficiency that can be suitable for receiving teaching English in English policy. So that's my answer. And then the next question is, what areas of classroom interaction the students got benefited by your reflective practice? What areas of classroom interaction the students got benefited by your reflective practice? Do you have any episode or example, Matt?
Yeah, I think the question is how do the students benefit from our reflective practice? And for me, I think it made me more aware of myself. So for example, before doing this study or this dual ethnography, I didn't realize that I was using Japanese to build rapport with students. I didn't consciously, it didn't kind of really register for me, you know? I think I knew that there was some benefit, but now I can see that there is definitely a benefit, and I maybe, I don't want to say I do it more, but I value it, I guess, in my class, and building that rapport with students. Yeah. The other thing that maybe benefit, so Taka, what I learned from you is when you, in that first class, the first of the semester, you give the 2 rules, right? Speak English and don't judge other people's English. And I want to do the same thing now. But mine, I will modify it. So I'll say, don't speak English, don't judge other people's English, and don't judge my Japanese. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. The areas of classroom interaction the students got benefited from my reflective practice along with Matt. I would say students might be prompted to raise their awareness of their own learning as well as of my teaching. And in my case, I reinforced my held ideas prior to having this reflective practice, as well as discovered new ideas as a result of reflective practice. That's the influence I got from reflective practice and this the ethnography study in general. Next, are there any programs within Japan to increase English proficiency for those native Japanese speaking English teachers who may need it, especially based on the lack of time teachers have? That is a great question. Ever since I became a Japanese teacher of English, as well as becoming a language teacher educator in the course of teaching license courses at the university level as well, I have been wondering the best ways in which to improve English language teachers' proficiencies, because that is a key, as I have been repeatedly saying in this presentation too. There is no English proficiency-oriented professional development opportunities at the university level or in service level in the local boards of education. And instead, the focus has been on, for example, learning about a set of language acquisition theories, or maybe giving trial in the form of teaching practicum for such and such pedagogical techniques. I think the English proficiency enhancement should be promoted and highlighted and emphasized to the point where it should be the #1 priority. What do you think, Matt, about the non-native English speaking teachers, the local Japanese teachers of English proficiency and its enhancement program or opportunity?
Yeah, as an assistant language teacher, I didn't see much about teachers trying to improve their English abilities. I will say that there's a full range there's a wide range of proficiencies. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So the next question is, I'm not sure if this was said, but at what age do students start learning English? At the moment in Japan, they start in the 3rd and 4th year of elementary school students, so at the age of 9. As English language activities rather than the formal English lessons encompassing writing or reading. No, just speaking and using English in the form of plays and games sometimes, but at the age of 9 in Japan, which just started 2 years ago. Next, can we apply TEIE in private courses? And it's difficult to deal with the children who are still age 6. Please provide explanations and suggestions. Do you think we can apply TEIE in private courses starting at the age of 6? What's your take on that, Matt?
What do you mean by private courses? Like one-on-one courses with?
Yeah, maybe in or
Yes,
outside of the
sir.
formal
Okay.
setting. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me comment if I may. I have no experience teaching young children. I've taught high school and university only. I will, as a parent, I have 2 kids who I'm raising here in Japan. They're 3 and 5. And I guess that's the closest I can get to teaching children. But yeah, I just, I talk to them and they're just so receptive. They pick up all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I don't see why you couldn't apply it with young children, just giving that exposure. Anything
Okay.
to add?
No, it's fine. Yeah. What levels of proficiency are the students in Japan supposed to attain in CEFA by the time they finish secondary schools? So for the university level, the desired attainable level in the CEFA is B2. But secondary schools, I would guess it would be lower, so A2, maybe around the TOEIC score of 550. That's as much as the average Japanese secondary schools upon graduation can attain English level, I think.
550? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds high to
What do you
me.
think?
My,
Okay. Yeah.
and my university average is 450.
Okay. A1, A2, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Therefore, it's not as high as we would like it to be. Your study was very interesting, particularly the collaborative aspect of, oh, thank you so much for that comment. Okay. Nice to listen to you. Oh my God. Thank you. You guys are so kind. Thank you for your clear response. Sorry. Right.
May I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And there's so many insights. And like I said in my commentary, I think these are discussions that ought to be had often in our field. They're often not discussed, or they're sort of discussed in silos. You talked about the political aspect to which Japan decided, or with which they decided to make English a mandatory language. I worked in France as a language teacher. I teach FLE, which is French as a foreign language here in the United States. And the same issues come up, right? Is why do I need this language? If we understand not only our beliefs and attitudes, but also the socio-political forces that shape our beliefs and attitudes, that have shaped also language acquisition, including English language learning, which of course emerged post World War II. I think when we have a better understanding of that as a geopolitical soft power tool, then we are much more equipped to teach our students with a breadth and a depth of understanding the context within which they're being made to learn a language, which I think is useless, but no language is ever useless because we're teaching languages that are tied to peoples and culture. And a lot of times I find English language teaching, ELT, when you're coming from a monolingual culture, not that the land itself is, the people are monolingual, but that has been the language politics that has been adopted. The approach to the content that is available to students is very monolingual as well. Like, so if you're talking about English language teaching, there's a lot of focus on Western Europe, right? The United States, very limited content dealing with these countries that are much more complex as far as a language that languages that are spoken in these countries. So I think when we take everything into account and we come together as a community and we openly discuss, sort of the tugs and pulls within our community, but also the social and socioeconomic and political forces that are driving these decisions, we are much stronger and much more effective for our students in the classroom.
Yeah. Can I make comments a little bit in response to, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name.
I realize it's all mixed together, so I have to fix that. But yes, Yetunde.
Yetunde, yeah. Yeah, it is a great point, having all those different multi-layered factors coming into play. But it is now, English is obviously regarded as an international language and lingua franca and global Englishes. And not only in terms of the native speakers of English, but the learners of English far surpass the number of native English speakers of English, and then non-native English speakers and non-native English speakers interaction is so prevalent and penetrating all the corner of the globe, and more than 80% of the internet pages are written in English. And I guess as long as we are living in Japan, we don't need to use English, but in order to stand on the global stage, we would not want to be left behind. And I think Japan is one of the very few countries where Japanese language would surface when it comes to even the PhD level or the higher education. But if we were to be truly collaborative and communicative with the population around the world, we would need to use English. I think once David Crystal, the British linguist, said there is no place in the world without English under the sun. So if that's the case, I guess we have to always be aware of being equipped with English skills if that's something that would propel ourselves in the domain of business and education and politics and everything else. So that's my comment to the story. Yep. Do you have anything?
I wanted to add to that, because you mentioned your students who were science and technology, again, same tug and pull in France, right? Why do I need to learn this? Well, because a lot of scientific discoveries were made not only by French speakers or Japanese speakers, but also by English speakers. When I say English, that means Englishes that even cover the former colonies of Britain. So I think just that inclusive idea, and I guess I'm speaking to what's happening in the United States right now, right, with the so-called critical race theory and banning of books and all sorts of craziness that we're going through, that narrow definition of English, even as David Crystal defined it, way back when, it was quite narrow. We're broadening that definition of what English is, right? And I think our students are often exposed to that narrow definition of what it is, and just beyond that. So sorry to
No, completely, I agree. And we do want to find ourselves in the echo chamber. For example, we were talking about language acquisition and then only interacting with Japanese speakers, Japanese scholars within the Japanese context. No, we should always transcend our geographical limitations and bounce around the ideas in order to make it more sophisticated and profound. Yeah, Matt, sorry, you wanted to say something.
Oh, yeah, so we're about out of time here, so I want to go to bed.
Okay. Can I only answer one question that was in the chat room, and then that was the only question I think we didn't answer, which is, what is the teaching load of Japanese teachers in English lessons in Japan? There are about 20 lessons of 15 minutes a week we have to teach as a Japanese teacher of English in secondary schools. On top of that, they have obligations concerning homeroom teachers and students counseling and sports and cultural club activities, extracurricular activities after school. So it is full on and very, very demanding. And there is no time in relation to the professional development opportunities, whether it is formal or casual. And considering that, I guess there is no question Japanese teachers of English would have time to be able to increase their command of English once they get that job. So that's the problem. Matt, do you want to add?
Yeah, so as an assistant language teacher, I taught with a lot of team teaching with a lot of Japanese teachers of English. And I noticed that, especially with the I guess, older ones, like teachers that were approaching retirement, as teachers, we tend to teach the way that we were taught. And, 30 or 40 years ago, in Japan, English was taught through grammar and translation only. And there was no communicative element to it at all. And those teachers would do that still. And part of the reason is they just don't have time to learn or do or plan something new or try something new. They just don't have that time. Yeah, Japanese teachers in Japan are just very, very overloaded with work in general.
And then there's no incentive. There's no reason for them to want to be involved with the teacher professional development opportunities either, because the salaries will be the same. There's no promotion. They will be secure with their job until the age of retirement at the age of 60. So yeah, that's I guess the structural problem we have.
High school teachers in the States, I think if you get a master's degree, you get a salary increase. Is that correct? But Japan does not have that system. If you get a master's degree, your salary is the same. So there's no real incentive to.
It's very age hierarchical. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I guess this is the end of our presentation, Matt.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something that you can take home with you and maybe try your own reflective practice or dual ethnography. Again, thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you guys sometime soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a great time. Thank you.